Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next episode of our Section 1 football breakdown for this week, and we're up to the semifinals. We want to welcome everyone back to our show. We got a lot of great feedback from our previous one. I'm your host, Frank Langella. This is my co-host, Mercer Langella, and we are back in the lab, right, studying more football. We're getting right to the semis for all three classes. Even in Class C, they're playing Dobbs Ferry versus Woodlands to see who's going to see Valhalla. But for this episode, we're going to talk about Class 1A, right? And, we had a lot of great games last week. A lot of teams you saw them separate themselves into the upper echelon teams. And we're going to dive into those semifinals. But welcome, Mars. I mean, this is where the big boys play, right?
Yeah,
in the semifinals.
Of course. I think that we had a great week of games, and I feel like now this is really the showdowns we've really been looking for. Section 1A has so many good teams in it, but once you narrow it down to the semis, it's really going to be a battle, and you have no idea really who's going to come away.
Well, we're going to try to decipher that for you. So we're going to predict who's going to win these semifinal games. I don't want to pound my chest, but before the season, I picked Yorktown, John Jay, Somers, and Wray, and they have all made it. So, I'm off to a good start, right, for my predictions. But let's dive into the first matchup, okay? And it's the number 5 seed Yorktown at number 1 seed John Jay Cross River. Yorktown is 7-1. John Jay Cross River is 8-0. And John Jay, it's strange because John Jay has been so good these last 2 years, especially winning the title last year. But they've lost 3 straight to Yorktown, but they have not played each other since 2016, okay? And this is a matchup of the two top offenses in 1A in points scored. John Jay is averaging 40 points a game, and Yorktown 39.1. So you're seeing two highly explosive offenses in this game, okay? John Jay, just to show you how explosive these are, John Jay's had 4 40-plus point games this season, 4 out of 8. Yorktown, 5 40-plus point games. I mean, that's just some serious firepower, man.
Yeah, that's incredible for a high school team to be able to do that.
It is. Yorktown, though, has a good defense. They're number 3 in 1A in points allowed at 12.6. John Jay Cross River is the worst of the semifinals defenses. They're tied for 6. So, I mean, it's not a bad defense, right? But compared to their contemporaries, they are 6th. They allow 13.9 points, which is not far off either. But, this one, obviously, the headlines are the offense. And let's just start right away with John Jay Cross River, Mars, right? Because they are number 1 seed. They deserve to be the number 1 seed. They have plenty of weapons. We talked about this last week. They like to spread you out. But they're looking to spread you out in a couple ways, right? They want to get matchups. And they want to get space to run the football. And they want to run it with their big, their big-time player in Luke Mercer, right? And Low HUD put out something really interesting earlier this week. And Luke Mercer, who was a great wide receiver last year, right? He was one of my Frank's finest coming in as a wide receiver. We got the news that he was going to be moved to quarterback. Everyone was wondering, can he make that move? But he has a chance to be the first person in Section 1 history to have 1,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards rushing, and 1,000 yards receiving in his career. I mean, that is unbelievable production from a high school player. Unbelievable production. And he had 1,000 yards receiving last year, okay? He's at 963 yards rushing, 874 yards passing, and 30 touchdowns. I mean, when you're playing John Jay Cross River, especially this year, Luke Mercer is the guy everyone's focusing on. Every defensive coordinator has gone into the lab, has drawn up their schemes to stop Luke Mercer, and nobody has been able to this year. And there's a lot of kudos. Obviously, the kid is super talented. He's fast. He's got a good arm. And he's not a small guy. I mean, arm tackles are not going to bring this kid down. So this kid obviously has some he's special about him. And John Jay Cross River coaching staff does a good job. They bring everybody out. They'll give you doubles, right? 2x2. They'll give you trips, Mars. They'll even bring a slot in if you want to bring a little more power football, okay? They'll give you twins. And what's even more surprising to me, and we spoke about this a little bit up front for John Jay Cross River, right? Because John Jay Cross River lost a lot of players last year. We know this. We talked about this last week, how the guys up front have been impressive, but they're moving people, okay? They're really pushing people around. They're opening up space for Luke Mercer, and that spells danger for a lot of the teams. We know about the weapons, right? There's plenty of wide receivers and we're going to get into one of them. But what about Luke Mercer, Mars? I mean, how impressive has this kid been?
He's been extremely impressive. I mean, I think that he is. It's really debatable whether I think he's the best athlete in Section 1A.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still putting up the chips for Kaiser, but I still think that he's an incredible athlete, and I think John Jay Cross River is the most dangerous because they have a really good offensive line. And then with your scheme where you spread everyone, basically just spread everyone out, and then now you're gonna have your mano a mano with the big boys up front, and then you have Mercer just tearing
because defense
apart.
is what are you gonna do? Do you want to come inside, load the box, and then now Luke Mercer can use those weapons on the outside, or do you try to even yourselves out, take away the outside guys, and now it's like you mentioned, mano a mano, right? And now Luke Mercer going one-on-one with guys. That's not a good matchup. But there's another player, right? Max Miraglia I want to talk about. Okay, because this kid, he started off a wide receiver. He was one of Luke Mercer's favorite weapons. Okay, then he injured his thumb. Needed surgery. The doctor told him not to play. Right, but this kid put on a cast, a purple cast, played in the game, and he rushed for 171 yards against Lords and 2 touchdowns. I mean, these athletes are amazing. Some of these kids are just absolutely amazing, and I love the toughness. And I don't recommend everyone do what he did, but I love the toughness, that grit. You can tell that's winning players right there. And there's another kid in the backfield who, when Luke Mercer's not getting the ball, he can get the ball. He's a dangerous guy. He's got the big cast on. I mean, I love the story. That's why I want to bring it up. I mean, I love tough players, and that's winning tough players. These aren't finesse players who don't want to get hit. This kid, injured, playing through it, wants to win a title. I mean, I love this about it, and your teammates have to love the type of grit that kid has for his team.
Of course. I mean, that's just pure toughness right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just, I mean, it's like you said before, it's not something we recommend.
No.
But it's something that shows you grit and shows you, that you're tough against adversity.
Absolutely. Now to the other side, Yorktown. What do they do to stop this John Jay? And in a couple minutes, I'm going to show a breakdown of John Jay's offense and how it breeds trouble for opposing defenses. But Yorktown, if there is a defense that could slow down this train, it is Yorktown. They've allowed 13 points total over the last 3 games, Mars. That's also extremely impressive. Yorktown has really started to click on all cylinders at the right time. And the reason why they have this, and people who watch Yorktown, they have an extremely active linebacking core. Okay? They have a good front and a linebacking core that makes a lot of plays in space, and you saw that against Brewster. They made a lot of plays in space, and it's led by Robinson, who's a very talented linebacker, but he's not the only one. There's other players who are contributing at a high level, and they're going to need to be able to tackle in space with all these athletes against John Jay Cross River. The big thing is this. You can't stop Luke Mercer. It can't be done. I mean, every time I've picked John Jay Cross River games, I'm saying you got to stop Luke Mercer. No one can stop him, but can you slow him down? Can you force somebody else to beat you? And that's got to be Yorktown's biggest thing. Defensively for Yorktown, what do they need to do to John Jay Cross River to slow him down?
I think it's honestly up front. I mean, you have to win the trench warfare. I think if you can cause pressure to Mercer, I think Mercer is one hell of an athlete, but he's not invincible, right? And I know that it's hard to say that he's not invincible with how well he plays, but the problem is for Yorktown is that John Jay Cross River has some beasts up front. They have some monsters up front, and I think that if you can somehow create pressure to force Mercer to make a mistake, then you can capitalize on that. I think that's the biggest thing Yorktown should be looking at.
It is prevent big plays. That's really the big one. Make it be a bump and grind type of game. If you can't let them score on those 50-yard touchdown runs or passes. All right. Before we go to the other side, we have a video of John Jay Cross River, the offensive breakdown that I did earlier today. John Jay Cross River is a well-oiled machine on offense, and they can beat you multiple different ways, and that's by running the ball and by throwing it out as spread looks. And the guy who runs the show is their quarterback, Luke Mercer, who's sitting right here. I mean, this kid is truly special, and we talked about it throughout our show. But let's just show you just how dynamic this kid is, and the fact that this offensive line that's standing in front of him does a pretty darn good job blocking for him. So John J. Cross Rivers come out in trips right? They have trips to the right. They got a single receiver to the left. What I like to call this is ace trips because they have one back, okay? And the way Lords is lining up is they're matching everyone up. So they got 3 guys for these 3 receivers, 1 guy for this guy down here, and they got 7 guys in the box, okay, to match up with 7 guys in here. But what John J. Cross River does, which is smart, is you see this kid lurking in between the tackle and the single receiver, right? They're going to say, hey, you know what? This guy's out of the box, so we like our matchup inside, okay? And, we mentioned that Cross River is going to run what we call a quarterback counter, okay? Because this guy's hanging a little bit outside the box, they're going to say, okay, we know we got 7 against their 6, okay? We're going to not even count this guy, okay, because he's leaning too far outside. So we're going to run a quarterback counter. We're going to fake the run this way, and we're going to pull these 2 guys coming back and running the counter with Mr. Mercer. Okay? And now watch, everyone touts the great production from the running backs, and this kid truly is special. But watch how this offensive line blocks this, which I think is just tremendous. Okay? So we're going to get the snap. We're going to get a good play fake, right? You're going to get this linebacker stepping that way, so you got no help. You got a bunch of down blocks going on in here. This is a great job on this trap block. The kid actually does a good job. He doesn't wait for the trap to come to him, and he attacks the trap. Okay, but he gets his head on the inside. You get a good play fake. Here comes the second guy coming in to meet the first white color he sees. Okay, you're going to watch this right here. Boom. That's a great job. But look at what's going on inside here. Head inside. Head inside. Look at these down blocks. They move these guys off the ball. They got their butts in the hole. All right. And the final aspect, now you get a great runner in open space like this. 1v1 against Mercer. See you later. See you later, man. I mean, this kid can beat you with the arm. He can throw. He's got multiple weapons on the outside. But what really should start scaring defenses is their ability to run in between the tackles with a pretty darn good offensive line and a guy who can run the ball and squeeze through small spaces. And once he gets to the open field, he can really blow a game open. All right, Mars, let's go to the other side of the ball now, right? Yorktown's offense, okay? They like to mix it up. They'll bring in tight ends. They'll spread you out. They'll run with, Dillon Smith, who has been, we'll get into Dillon. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He's been one of the best backs in 1A. They'll run with the quarterback. They like to do... I like their style of offense because they'll run power right at you. They'll run directly at you. They'll also throw bubbles, right? They like to get guys out on the edge, like the quarterback running power. They like to get Dillon Smith running downhill. So they have a good mix-up, okay? But the rush attack is big for Yorktown, okay? And I think this offense of Yorktown is going to be huge. We're talking about, obviously, 2 top offenses, but it's not the points. Now, obviously, you want to score points. But it's how you score these points. Yorktown needs to control the football, okay, for 2 reasons. They got to wear down John J. Cross River because some of those linemen, those really impressive linemen, are on the defensive front for John J. Cross River. And number 2, take possessions away from Luke Mercer. They need to be able to do that, and that's using that ground and pound game that Yorktown has, which is going to be huge. You can't turn the ball over. Right, Yorktown in their loss against Nyack, that was the big thing. They had about 6 turnovers. Okay, if you give Luke Mercer extra possessions, Mars, it's going to be a long night. Right, so Yorktown got a ground and pound, and that is with one of the best backs in football, Dillon Smith, that I mentioned, 1,269 yards rushing, 16 touchdowns. He is a mix of speed and power, and this kid is versatile. I mean, I'm going to show in their video breakdown on offense how this kid opens everything up for Yorktown, okay? Because he's not just a guy who runs in the backfield. He's a guy who can line up wide and catch balls. And so Dillon Smith, obviously John J. Cross River is going to be looking to stop him, but he's another kid who has just found different ways to make impacts in the game, and he's got over 1,200 yards rushing, which is in high school year is very impressive, right? He's one of the leading rushers in Section 1. And, the next X factor is their quarterback, Trayvon Johnson, right? This kid, another versatile type player. He can run, he can throw, but I think he's the most dangerous when he's running, in my opinion. I think that's where he is the biggest X factor, and a lot of people's attention is going to be at Smith. It's time for Johnson to make some plays with his legs, right? They got to keep chains moving. They got to control the ball, and that's a big one. And when you're playing a high volume scoring offense, how can your offense help your defense? Control the ball. Control the ball. You have anything for it?
No, I agree. I think that Dillon Smith is, just an X factor, like you said. Depending on how well he plays is really what's going to set the tempo for Yorktown in general. I think, it's like I said before, the defense needs to now win the trench warfare, and I think it's the same thing going to be for the offensive line. You have to win, and Dillon Smith you have to ride on the back of Dillon Smith. He's got to continue.
Yorktown has the fronts to do that.
Yes,
on both sides.
They do, and that's what I'm looking for in this game. And I don't know if Cross River's defense can handle the up front for Yorktown, because I think Yorktown has the advantage defensively compared to Cross River. But Cross River's offense is just incredible.
It's incredible.
But like you said, Yorktown's offense ain't no slouch.
Nope.
So, it's going to
top two offenses. This is a heavyweight fight. But the Yorktown's defense, I'm wondering, can they find a way to slow down? They have a lot of team speed. Can they slow down Luke Mercer? All right, I mentioned the video before. We're gonna give a quick breakdown on why Dillon Smith makes a huge impact for Yorktown's offense against John Jay Cross River. Yorktown has one of the best offenses in Section 1A, and they do this by doing a lot of different things, and that's mixing things up in their formations on who gets the ball. They like to run downhill. They also like to throw bubble screens. They do a lot of different things, run with the quarterback. They are a very versatile offense. And there's one kid who is leading the charge for this offense, and that's number 8, Smith, down here at the bottom of the screen. And this kid is one of the best backs in 1A, but what is he doing out here? And we're going to show how Yorktown mixes things up to put kids in good matchups against the defense. So Yorktown is coming out with a 12 look. So they got 1 back, 2 tight ends in the gun formation. Okay, and Smith, who, wait a minute, he's leading the league in rushing, but he's a wideout right now. And this is an interesting play setup by Yorktown. And what they're going to do is they're going to try to isolate Smith one-on-one with a Brewster defender. So they're going to motion this guy right here. Right now they shifted the tight end off the line. The receiver has to go on the line. They're going to shift him over opposite of Smith to get a trips look. There's a receiver out here that's a little bit off the screen. It's hard to tell, but they're going to move this guy over into a trips look to see how Brewster adjusts. Okay? So right now, there's one corner out here, and that's on Smith, who now just left the screen. He's running a go route, right? They're going to get him one-on-one with a corner. The safety's in the middle of the field. He's not shaded over to Smith's side. And on the other side, they're going to run a combination route where this tight end comes into the middle of the field. They run an out and a slant. But this quarterback right away is looking at this one-on-one matchup. And watch the versatility of Smith come into play. I mean, this kid is a leading rusher on the team. And he's running go routes now on the outside. Watch this. Nice step back, a nice little throw. I mean, look at this. This is the running back. He looks like a veteran wide receiver. Look at him high point the ball. Right, he comes back to the football. He doesn't let the defender get into his body. He goes up and gets it like a basketball player. And that's it. Look at that play. Touchdown. I mean, that's great. I mean, the versatility of the Yorktown offensive players makes this offense extremely dynamic. And Smith in particular, the kid who can run downhill, he can line up out wide, he can catch balls for the team. This offense is extremely explosive. And it's led by guys like Smith who can do a lot of different things for your team. So we showed you about Yorktown's offense. Now, John Jay Cross River's defense. Okay, what can they do to slow down Dillon Smith? Now, you mentioned the trench warfare. That's obviously a great way to start, right? And they have one of the best D linemen in all of Section 1, and that's Shane Martinson. Okay, he is a absolute stud. Okay, we talked about him last week, and he showed once again why he is one of the best defensive linemen in football. Okay, he's big, he can move, he can go inside, he can go outside, he can contain, he can slice inside. This guy is a big-time disruptor, and he is, again, not the only one, but when everyone's watching a John Jay Cross River game, he's easily the one that stands out the most. And can Yorktown, again, who has a good front, how do they counter this kid who, you're lucky to win 50% of the battles with him. So what can Yorktown do? I mean, do you run right at him? Do you try to run away from him? But, I mean, it's an interesting dynamic, but there are different ways. In Cross River, what they can really do is get Yorktown in long-distance situations. I think the passing game of Yorktown is where it's a little shaky for me. Their passing game, Yorktown's offense. Okay, if they could stop Dillon Smith, if they can just slow him down, get behind the chains, okay, and force Yorktown to, instead of throwing bubbles, have to start throwing down the field, and that'll give him a chance to now rush the passer. Okay, I think that's a formula for John J. Cross River, to be successful. Now, I know their defense is no slouch, but if they can force a turnover to give their offense a couple more possessions, I think John J. Cross River is going to find its way winning this game.
Now, John J. Cross River's defense really has to do one simple thing, and that's, like you said, slow down Dillon Smith, but win the third downs. You have to kind of force them to not get those easy first downs, drag out the game, and then you need to win those crucial third downs. And especially, you want to make it, like you said, you have to make it passing downs. You have to make it third and 7, 3rd and 8, where you need to throw the ball.
Yep.
And it can't be a bubble screen to make the play. And then you can send the dogs, send them all at them.
Absolutely. So Mars, let's get to the predictions. Okay. This is, when you get into these type of games, this is the hardest ones to pick. Okay, there's a lot of back and forth. Does John J. Cross River find its way back to the title game? Okay.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I don't think they do.
Do
I
you
think Yorktown. I'm taking Yorktown here. I think the reason why is Yorktown's is a top 5 defense. I know Cross River's just outside that boundary, but I think Yorktown up front has more depth. I think the defensive line is very good for Yorktown. The offensive line is good too. And I just think that what they're going to try to do is, like you said, try to control the momentum and control the tempo of the game, and basically just ground and pound. All right, and I'm not saying that Cross River can't stop that, but I also think that they're going to try to set the pressure on Mercer and force him to make a mistake. And as much as I think Mercer is debatably the best talent in Section 1A, I think this is the time where he doesn't show out as much as what he wants to do.
Well, I mean, he's got countless touchdowns, and I think Luke Mercer does break the record. I think he's going to get the 100, at least 40 yards rushing, and he's going over 130 yards passing this year. He's going to break that record, and I agree with you. Yorktown's going to win. So he's going to get that milestone, but I think Yorktown does enough to win this game because I think they are a slightly more complete team than John J. Cross River. All right, let's go to our next game, Mars, and that is we got number 3 Rye, who's 7-1, at number 2 Somers, who is 7-1. This was my preseason championship battle, but because of the seeding, we didn't get that, but we're going to get it in a huge heavyweight semifinals matchup. And they did play each other week 3. Somers won that game in late, in impressive fashion. I remember watching the video where Coach DiMatteo was celebrating, running down the sideline right after Rye blew a 17-point lead, right? And they picked off the ball at the end. So that's got to be chewing at Rye, and now they get a chance at a rematch. And this has been a rivalry, okay? They've split the last 4 games between these two teams, okay? So there's been an even fight. There's been, obviously, there's been some little rubbing in each other's faces when someone were to become victorious. And I think these teams are so evenly matched. Both of them have started to get healthy, and we'll get into that. But there's a battle between the number 3 offense of Somers and the number 4 offense of Rye. But Somers is rocking the top defense in 1A, Mars. So that is obviously extremely impressive. They really started to click on all cylinders. Rye is, who I thought was the preseason favorite, has now become the underdog. Right, so let's get into Somers' offense, the wing T, okay? And you've mentioned him. I've mentioned him plenty of times. They like to go into the wing T, okay? There's different sets of the wing T, A slots, right? Tight end wing. They even come out into the spread when they get a little bit behind. They'll still bring in that tight end. They have Kaiser everywhere in the backfield, okay? They have the 3 Musketeers. That's what I like to call Somers' offense. Okay, and the 3 Musketeers starts with the lead guy, which is the running back, Jack Kaiser, okay, who is the bull. Okay, he is the man. In my opinion, I thought he was going to be back of the year. You think he's the best back in Section 1. We both agree of how talented this kid is. But their quarterback is another impressive kid, right? Jackson Cosell. Now, you know how bad I am with names. So, Jackson Cosell, 6 passing touchdowns, 8 rushing touchdowns, over 1,000 total yards. This kid, what they like to do is run right at you, beat you up inside, and now here comes the play action. Here comes the waggle concepts. Here comes him rolling out. And this kid can beat you with his legs and his arms. And then they're the final musketeer, who I think is the most dangerous player, Mars, and that is their running back, Valencia. Okay, he was injured. He has come back. He is the most explosive player on both sides of the ball. You heard me correctly. That's over Kaiser. That's over Rise players. He's the most explosive player, and that he can beat you on those sweeps, right? In wing T, you need those halfbacks who can do sweeps. But when he catches balls, when he's in open space, he could take it to the house at any moment, and he is back. This is a huge test for Rise defense. Before we get to Rise defense, Mars, the 3 Musketeers, what do you think about them?
It's scary. I mean, in the wing T, when basically the way the wing T works is that any of those guys can kill you. And when you have three,
you got a fullback, quarterback, halfback.
when you have all positions covered with extremely skilled players, that's very tough to stop. And especially since a lot of times it's going to force your team to be disciplined. And I think that, so far, obviously, when you look at Somers, they've been just steamrolling over teams. So now it's really, I really want to see how Wray can react to this. This is going to be, a rematch of a great game they've had last time. And I want to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's now focus on Rye's defense, okay? Because we just mentioned, but let's not kid her. Somers has an offensive line too. Now you can't run the wing T without some guys who could pull and down block, okay? And Somers has that. But defensively, Rye 13.4 points allowed per game. All right. What can Rye do? They have to be aggressive. Okay, they have to be able. I don't think, if you go pound for pound, are they bigger than Somers? I'm not sure. But I'm going to tell you what they need to do is blitz. They need to attack the line of scrimmage. They need to be aggressive, and their DBs have to be able to tackle. Okay, and I thought before the season they had one of the best defensive back crew in Section 1. I still have high expectations for them. They have the guys to do it. Okay, but they need guys who are going to set the edge, which is the biggest point, because Kaiser's going to keep giving you body shots, but the haymaker is going to come on those waggles and those sweeps with the quarterback or Valencia. That's when you really gets the backbreakers, all right? And Kaiser will keep wailing on you until you wear down, and then that's when he can break it. But you need guys who can set the edge, don't prevent those big plays, and you got to get Somers behind the sticks, okay? Because on first down, they get 4 yards on a belly. They're in great position. Now, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, there's a lot they could do, okay? They can run it again with Kaiser, right? They can hit you with that sweep. They can get the quarterback on the edge. If they're in 2nd and 9 or 3rd and 8, now things are different. They have to get into the spread. That's not who they are. They can do it, but it's not who they are. So Rye has to really get them behind the stick, especially win the first down. You mentioned win third down. I'm saying win first down for Rye's defense.
Yeah, I think it's almost like you said before with Yorktown and John Jay Cross River. Can you contain? I think if you can contain Kaiser, I think Kaiser of the 3 you mentioned is the best one. He's the best skilled guy. He's going to be the guy that's going to hurt you the most because he's done some things that I thought a high school player couldn't do, right? Where he's just carried the team close to carrying the team on his back and just running forward and gaining yards. So my thing is that can you contain Kaiser? And the fact that he's still a young player tells you that. Yeah, it tells you that there still might be some. I mean, I haven't seen it yet. Any nervousness for a young player before a junior. I haven't seen it yet. No. But my thing is that for Rye, it's really going to be can you contain him because he's going to be the one that's going to carry close to 30, 40 times. And that's what's scary about Somers is that they don't mind feeding him the rock.
No.
They don't mind doing that.
They don't.
Can you contain him enough and slow him down? And like you said, if you can keep him behind the sticks in the first 2 downs and cause it to be a passing scenario,
yeah, better shot
at stopping that.
Yeah, let's move to the other side, Rye's offense, okay? This is another high-powered offense. Obviously, they love to throw the ball at all levels, okay? And this is something that I loved before the season. I still love it now because they can beat you multiple ways. Okay, they have the backs to run the ball, and they have the receivers to catch the ball, but the quarterback is the guy. He really is the show. And not to say that any of those kids can't carry the load, but they love to put all the pressure on their quarterback, Declan Lavelli, and he has performed 1,776 yards passing. Okay, 21 touchdowns. So the production is clearly there. Okay, and he can make each throw at each level, and they love to use it. They love to motion, put you in trips, put you in doubles in motion. They'll bring out multiple formations. They'll put them in shotgun. They'll put them in pistol. They like to test the discipline of your defense because they know their quarterback can throw at each level. They'll throw quick screens. They'll throw bombs. They'll throw intermediate routes. Okay, and that's how it shows you how special this kid is. And when they played them last time, they went up on a 17-point lead. But Wray started turning the ball over, started not converting on those passes that they did in the beginning of the game. And I think this is a huge statement game for the quarterback of Wray. Okay? Because he is the leader. He is the man. His teammates rally around him. I think this is a game where you might see why he was referred as one of the best players and, in my opinion, the best quarterback in 1A before the season. And this is a great opportunity for him to get revenge, in my opinion. He's got the guys up front, okay? This is the matchup that I love more than anything else, and you love yourself line, Mars. You got a big, strong offensive line in Wray, and you have a disruptive defensive line in Somers. And outside of the quarterback, there's so many weapons. There's so many, we could talk about all the superstars on each side, but the trench warfare in this one is the really impressive one. You're talking about, you guys got Greto, North, and then on Somers' defense, Grindrod, Cheek, Polito. This is the battle that I'm looking forward to the most, and I think this is one's going to determine if whoever's going to win this game. And a reason why is that Wray loves to throw the ball, and they love to throw at 3 different levels. But if they allow pressures on the quarterback, that's where the mistakes and the turnovers come, which we've seen a couple times against Wray. And, you won't be able to do everything you want to do if you can't protect the quarterback. And Wray relies a lot on that quarterback, and they rely a lot on that offensive line to protect them. And this is going to be a huge matchup. Before we get into Somers' defense specifically, that matchup is the one. I think it's the key to this game.
No, it is. I like you mentioned before, I love the offensive line of Wray. I think that they are a deadly force. The fact that you're paired with them and the quarterback, how deadly Lavelli can be, it's really going to be dependent on how well the offensive line plays. I think that if they protect him, then he'll have as much production value as Wray would hope.
Yep, right? And they got those 2 big tackles and those 3 guys on the inside who can move around. But I referenced that defense, Mars. Somers has the top defense in 1A. They deserve a boatload of credit. Okay, 11.6 points a game. They have given up less than 20 points in 5 straight games. Okay, 3 games of less than 10 points. So the defense has clearly turned it around. And I mentioned a couple names before. It all starts up front with them. Okay, they don't have towering figures on the defensive line, although Polito is a big boy. But guys like Grindrod and Cheek are so impressive. They're not huge guys, but that tandem is one of the most disruptive tandems in Class 1A. And at the nose guard spot and at the defensive tackle spot, that causes a lot of issues. When your center is dealing with constant pressure up right into his face, that's where you see those snaps starting to go awry. That's where you start seeing, all the run plays in between the tackles can't go anywhere. When you have a nose guard that's that disruptive, and it's him using his hands, and his get off is great. He's got a great first step, and that's one of the most impressive things about this D-line. My top matchup, I mentioned O-line versus D-line, but just a personal matchup, Cheek versus Greto, that's the one to look for.
Yeah, I mean, the defense for Somers deserves credit, like you mentioned, for being number 1 in Section 1A. That's such a difficult thing to do and to accomplish that you have to give them props for that. And I think that this is going to be the biggest matchup of the week. If I'm going to say the game of the week, the FaM Sports New York Varsity game of the week, it's going to be this game, Rye versus Somers. It is the game of the week.
Yeah.
Because not only is there, obviously implications to get to the section title, but this is a rematch, right? And there's some bad blood going on between these two teams.
Respectful, but bad, but as in competitive bad blood.
Yeah. So that's my thing is I feel like this is going to be a very interesting and fun game to watch.
Absolutely. And let's get to our prediction. All right.
You want me to go first?
I'll take this one. I picked Rye before the season to win the championship and beat Somers to win it. Obviously, I love both these teams. Okay? And this one is one that I had to go back and forth about 100 times because I think they're both so evenly matched. But I am going with Rye, and I'm going to stick with my preseason prediction. I think Rye is healthy at the right time. I understand Somers has the top defense in 1A. They do. And they deserve a boatload of credit. And usually I always go with the defense. I always go with the defense over the hotter offense. But Somers is very impressive. I think Somers is going to have success. I think Kaiser's going to have success. But I think Rye's going to make big plays that Somers will not. Okay? And what I mean of that is the big passing plays. I think Rye can hit you deep better than Somers can, and I think there's going to be one or two plays that are going to be big time, big chunk plays. They're going to change this game, and I think it's going to be on Rye's side that gets it done. And I think the winner of this game wins it all. So would I be shocked if Somers won? Absolutely not. I mean, I could see it going the other way, but I think this game's really close, and I think Rye pulls it off in a real tight one, and the winner of this game is going to win it all.
Now, last time they played each other, Tony DiMatteo was high-stepping after a big victory.
It was on video.
It was on video.
And it was a huge comeback.
Yep. But I think Lavelli this time is going to be high-stepping.
I think
it's going to be a battle. I think last time I'm going to give Somers props for having a comeback victory. However, the asterisk there is that Rye was hurt. A lot of injuries on Rye at the time.
But so was Balancia, right? So I understand your point about injuries. Yeah. Injuries happen, but you are right.
I think Rye is getting healthy at the right time. I think, and I'm not going to say Somers is not going to I don't think they're going to overestimate them. I really don't think they'll do that. No. But the health of Rye probably masks some of the issues that they had previously. So I think they're going to have a great game. The offensive line, I think, is going to show out. I think they're going to have a very good game and slow down this defensive pass rush that Somers just has up front, and I think that's really what's going to set the difference. I think like you said, Kaiser's going to have a great game. I don't know about Balencia. I think Balencia will have some issues. I think they'll contain Balencia. I think that will set the difference between these two games. I believe it'll be Rye Yorktown in my perspective.
Well, that was our show. Let us know who you think is going to win these semifinal games, and we hope you guys enjoy the games this weekend.